Okay, so I want to make this video about a very touchy subject, and that is abortion. This is something that I have experience with, so I feel comfortable talking about it and certainly sharing, some of the vague details of what I went through regarding this subject. So, anyways, and I like women. And I've been with a few women before, and I've had one girlfriend, and one time we got pregnant. We're very new in our relationship, and so it brings things up. It's just like, oh boy, what do you do there? Because as you know, at least in Canada, you have a choice. You have that right to choose such a thing. And so, I do believe in freedom of choice. I mean, that's just in general. That's like, if somebody doesn't have the right to choose, I mean, that means that they're being controlled in a way. And so that's, anyways, and so the stance that I took was just like, because it's, in conversations that I've heard about it, certainly like, Dave Chappelle's talked about it, he jokes about it, but I mean, it is a serious subject and he takes it seriously too. I mean, it is, but, just that, like, it's a woman's body, so it's her right to choose, whether or not she's ready to do that, to be a mother, carry it. It's not quite, I mean, the responsibility is the same, but it's for a man, but we're not carrying around the baby for 9 months and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's a big deal. So, and all, a lot of hormone changes go on with women, like it's a big deal, hats off to women and childbearing and stuff like that. So, I just said that I would support this woman that I was with, no matter what she chose. I mean, in hindsight, I don't know if that was the right stance to take. I think I would actually, and so this is why I'm making this video, is because based on the information that I was aware of regarding the subject at the time, that is the way that I felt, and I thought that that approach was the most appropriate. However, and it was based on certain teachings that I've been exposed to, or that I pay attention to about, like for starters, it's like we are a soul, we are spirit, we're an aspect of the infinite. We are, like, if we didn't exist for even a moment, then all that is wouldn't be all that is. It's not a matter of, there's no killing a spirit. There's no killing the soul. Nothing is lost, right? But I mean, it's certainly a choice. So it's like, okay. And they say that when people do choose to have an abortion, it is that, like, that soul that is in that being, in the baby. So first off, there's like a period of time, I think it's like 90 days until, there's a period of time like where it takes a bit of development until certain parts of the spine, because like the brain and the spine and like energy centers and things like that, heart, I don't know everything about that stuff, but it's like, and like the medulla oblongata, like there's different parts. So then once those are essentially in place, and then that entity is hospitable for like consciousness to come into it, for what it's worth, as I understand it, right? And so there's the different stages of when a person could have that kind of an operation done, and then also like even if there was a level of consciousness, you know, and I suppose there always is, because like everything is consciousness, but like when there is like essentially individualized personality within a physical body, like say, and it's in a situation where somebody is going to go through with an abortion, the idea is that that being only wanted to experience a very short, like dipping your toes in the water, but not jumping right in. And so like, that's essentially what the idea is, because if you know, we incarnate for a reason, we have a purpose, you know, we come here to do certain work, to learn things about ourselves, about life, to evolve and that kind of stuff. And if that was what the goal was, you wouldn't incarnate into a being that wasn't going to live for what it's worth, like a life, you know, years of life and whatnot, and have experiences and relationships and things like that. So it's like, at the end of the day, if you have an abortion, you're not doing something wrong. You know, you're not killing a baby, you're not destroying an aspect of the universe, you're not wiping something out that could have been. You're just doing something, you know. And so that was the understanding, you know, and it was important at the time when we were going through this to bring some of this stuff up, because there are those questions there, and there is this, like, there can be this guilt. It's like, you know, she knew that it was a boy. You know, she could tell because she was a sensitive person, and she was in touch with, you know, she had her intuition, you know, feeling that kind of stuff. And so it was just like, oh, did we make the right decision and stuff like that. And so that's why I like having a bit of perspective on this stuff. And so, but then, and so that, you know, came and went, and, you know, eventually we split up, and, you know, that was that. But I tell you something, I really loved that woman. I mean, I was devastated when it didn't work out. You know, there's no point going into any other details. It didn't work out. We got together right when COVID hit. And then we were like isolated, and just at the places that we were in our lives, I wasn't man enough to handle her, and she wasn't where she needed to be for me to be able, you know, it wasn't meant to be. We weren't, but it was like, and so I heard something recently while listening to a talk from Bashar, who's a very well-known channel, Daryl Anka, the guy who channels Bashar, and like he said, in one of these Bashar channelings, just that, like, just the fact that, because, you know, so, you know, like some people try to get pregnant and it can be a challenge, and it's like everything happens in perfect timing, everything happens for a reason. And it's like, if you're not having a child, you know, if it's not so easy, despite just like regular, you know, love-making methods, and like, and it's just like, yeah, you know, we're trying, but it's just not happening, then maybe it's just not time for you, right? But if it does happen, that says something about the relationship. It means that it has the capacity to work, you know, and so just based on the fact that you are able to get pregnant with a person, I mean, that means that it's a relationship that you should seriously consider putting effort into. And of course, there are other circumstances where women get pregnant, and some of them are not, you know, unspeakable, right? I'm not, you know, of course there's exceptions to every rule, but just like, you know, hearing that, I really felt like, it resonated with me, and I really, it kind of changed my perspective a bit, because it was like, on the one hand, you're not doing anything wrong by having an abortion, but then on the other hand, just the fact that you have that this has occurred, that you have had a pregnancy, tells you something about the relationship, that it could go the distance, but of course any relationship requires a lot of work, hard work. It requires trust, it requires respect, it requires support. If you remove any of those things at any time, I mean, any relationship will just break down. So, and communication, what do they say? Love, is love enough? Depends on how you define love. I know love as, like, because there's conditional love, where it's like, and then there's unconditional love. Because like unconditional love is like, I don't require anything from you. It's like in an observational way, the only thing, you have compassion for a person no matter what their situation is, and no matter what they're doing, whether you agree with it or not, you'd like to, it makes you happy to see them thriving, the truest expression of who they are, not some image that you have of who they are, or what they should be, or, anything like you, so like really love a person. And so, which is like very much opposed to conditional love, like, where it's like, like I've heard about the suicide rates in, I think it is Japan. It's like, well, where kids, because they're so worried about impressing somebody else, it's just like, man, can't you just be yourself? Is that love? It's a level of love, right? Anyways, that's it for this video. I mean, yeah. I guess I just I share it because I don't know, I just wonder if that piece of information would have changed something for us, if we had known that, and especially the source that it comes from about abortion, just because, like, that guy, if you know who he is, and if you've ever listened to him talk, it's like, it's pretty hard to refute some of the things that he says, especially because he's been doing it so long, and just like, yeah, what he says is so clear. So, but I accept it the way that my life unfolded, like I wasn't aware of that little thing, that little tidbit of information at the time. And I can accept that for what it is. When you do your best in any given situation, circumstance, or whatever, and you can't look back, you can never be aware of every factor. It's like Alan Watts' philosophy. You just have to trust that doing your best is sufficient. And, I don't know, for myself, I learned so much from that relationship. Reflecting on how I behaved in it, and just everything that unfolded, and and that was one piece of it, and it is what it is. So so that's just one perspective on it. I'm sure there are many others. I know that there are others.